We have seen a lot of freakish Hall of Fame caliber receivers come through the NFL in the last couple of decades. Randy, Marvin, Megatron, Andre, Larry, all of them were simply phenomenal in their own unique ways. But not one name on that list scares me as much as Antonio Brown. By the time he's done in this league, Brown is going to outproduce every single one of them. And to be honest, if he plays long enough, he's on pace to challenge even the seemingly untouchable legacy of Jerry Rice himself. Over the last 5 seasons, Brown has caught a staggering 580 passes and will possibly hit 600 by the end of the year. For context, the previous NFL record for receptions in a 5-year span before Brown broke it was 563 catches by Marvin Harrison. Antonio didn't just beat Harrison's numbers, he crushed them. If Brown does reach that 600 catch mark, that would put him at an average of 120 receptions per season over the last 5 years. Only 7 other receivers in the history of the sport have ever caught 120 passes in a single season, and yet for Brown, that number would just be considered normal. This is a ridiculous stretch that he's been on these last 5 years, and even more impressive is the last 4 games of that stretch that he's just played. Since week 11 of this year, in just 4 games, he's racked up 39 catches, 627 yards, and 6 touchdowns, which even by his lofty standards is just absurd. If he maintains this pace, he has a legitimate shot to get to 2,000 receiving yards on the season, which has never been done before. So how does Brown keep putting up these numbers year after year, and how did he explode the stat sheet even more than usual over the last month? Sure, he's extremely quick in his breaks, his hands are made of glue, and he has the speed to be a true deep threat over the top, but plenty of other legendary wideouts also had those gifts and never even got close to Brown's production. What makes him different, and how is all of this possible? The answer, or at least what I believe to be the answer based on the tape, is the connection he shares with Ben Roethlisberger. We always hear about chemistry between quarterbacks and receivers as being vital to success, but nobody ever really talks about how chemistry affects production. They just know that it does. When you watch Ben and Brown, you can see with your own 2 eyes what that chemistry is. You can see what that connection and that bond actually translates to on the field. When Roethlisberger targets Brown on a route, a lot of the time he's not actually throwing it to Brown. He's throwing it to a spot and trusting that Brown is going to read the coverage the same way that he does and get to that spot. It's why their timing is so good, because Ben can look at a coverage pre-snap, know exactly how Antonio is going to adjust his route based on that coverage, and then give him a catchable ball to that spot when he expects him to get there. Whether it's seeing a corner playing stack technique and throwing the ball back shoulder on a low trajectory where Brown can adjust to it, or on a fly route putting the ball right on the boundary and trusting Brown to pin the corner inside and then drift outside at the last second to bring it in, those kinds of passes only get completed because Ben and Antonio know exactly what the other is thinking at all times, and they trust each other to make those throws and make those catches. Trust is what made those 580 receptions happen more so than their individual skills. And that's not to say that both of them are not individually extremely talented, of course, but together as a unit, when they're inside of each other's heads, they're unstoppable. A great example of that is this 39-yard pickup in Week 12 against the Packers. The Steelers are in a 2x2 look from the shotgun, while the Packers are in what initially looks like cover 2 man. Roethlisberger sends his tight end, Jesse James, on a return motion just to see if anybody follows him, and they do not. That's a huge red flag that it's not actually man coverage but zone coverage, and those suspicions were then confirmed when Green Bay rolled out of that 2-man look into a cover 3 cloud look after the snap. Now, Brown is running a post route here from an inside release, which is usually a pretty good route to run against a cover 2 man defense, but against this roll to cover 3, it's significantly riskier because there's now a safety lingering in the middle of the field. I've talked in the past about mofo looks, or middle of field open looks, which is what a cover 2 is. A cover 3, however, is a middle of field close look because that free safety is sitting in the middle of the field. That change in coverage changes how Brown runs this route and also how Ben throws it. Watch Antonio kind of round off this post route and settle it down underneath the deep safety. If this were a mofo look on defense, he might drift it upfield like a traditional post and try to split those safeties, but since it's middle of field closed, he's shortening it and also slowing down just to settle underneath the safeties instead. You can also see that Ben knows exactly what Brown is going to do to adjust this route as well. He's not going to put air on this pass and lead it out in front of him over the middle like he's throwing a true post. He's driving this ball with purpose and putting it right into that soft spot where Brown is settling into. Antonio trusted Ben to see the coverage the same way he did and to throw to a spot rather than to a route, and he rewarded that trust with some big yardage after the catch. Later in this game, we basically saw the same thing. It's 1st and goal at the 1-yard line, and Ben is once again in the gun. The Packers are showing blitz 0, meaning it's man coverage with no help all across the board. Dom Capers, in his infinite wisdom, decided that the man responsible for covering Brown without any help would be rookie cornerback Kevin King. As soon as I saw this pre-snap look when I was watching this game live, I knew that it would be a touchdown because there is no way that King should ever be alone against Brown, but that's beside the point. What's interesting here is not that it basically was a guaranteed touchdown, but rather why it was a guaranteed touchdown. King is sitting here with pretty significant inside leverage because, like I said, there are no safeties or linebackers to help him inside, and Brown is notorious for scoring on goal line slants because he's so damn quick. He's doing everything he can to keep that slant from being successful, but in doing so, he actually just makes Brown's job even easier. That chemistry with Big Ben is so good that if Brown is given man coverage outside in a goal line situation, they will change the route on the fly just based on whatever leverage the corner's playing. Meaning, if the corner's outside, he'll run a slant, and if the corner's inside, he'll run a fade. So by being that far inside, King basically just told Brown what route to run and handed him 6 points on a silver platter. When the ball is snapped, Ben is getting rid of it immediately because he knows what Antonio is going to do. He knows what spot he needs to throw it to based on King's leverage, and he's confident that Brown is going to get there, and he does. It's the easiest touchdown they've had all season, and it was pretty much locked in before the play even started. The trust that these two have built with each other is remarkable. There are times when I'm convinced that even they don't know what they're going to do until they get to the line of scrimmage. They're just winging it, play call be damned, and it works. Ben can make any throw he needs to, and Brown can run any route in the book, and just based on different coverages and leverages, they both got 5 different ways to throw and run those routes too. You want to know why this duo is arguably the most unstoppable in the history of the sport? It's because you're not just playing against a Hall of Fame quarterback, and you're not just playing against a Hall of Fame receiver. You're playing against 2 Hall of Famers that have become one. You're playing against 2 brilliant football minds that have become one. It's not as simple as just lining up to stop a route concept. You have to stop all of the improvisation and instinctual synergy that comes with it. Roethlisberger doesn't just throw to receivers, he throws to spots. And Brown doesn't just run routes, he runs to spots. Ben trusts Antonio to get to those spots, and Antonio trusts Ben to throw to those spots. That's how this relationship works. On a deep out route like this one, Roethlisberger knows exactly how long it takes Brown to get to the boundary, so he waits to see that nod at the top of the break and then he lets it go. He's trusting Brown here to get to that sideline on time to make the catch, which of course he does with a beautiful toe tap just inside the paint. Either Brown gets this ball or nobody does, and he trusts Brown to go get it. Every game you watch with these two, that's the biggest theme of their downfield passes. Ben throws to a spot where only Antonio has a shot to make the catch, he says go get it, and Brown goes up and gets it. It's like clockwork, and it's both beautiful and terrifying to watch as a fan of another AFC team. I don't know how the rest of their division puts up with this crap twice a year, to be honest. These two just aren't fair anymore. They really aren't. And when we look back at the careers of Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown when they hang up the cleats for good, whenever that may be, I don't think we're ever going to be able to talk about one without also talking about the other. The Steelers transitioned from a hard-nosed defensive team into a high-flying offensive powerhouse because of this connection. They were and are a perennial contender because of this connection. Montana to Rice, Brady to Moss, and Manning to Marvin were all record-breaking tandems, but none of them were nearly as productive or as soul-crushingly efficient as Ben to Brown. So with Roethlisberger fast approaching the age of 36 and rumors of his retirement lingering in the background, we all need to enjoy this while we still can. Football fans have never seen anything like this duo before, and truth be told, once they're gone, I don't know if we'll ever see anything like it again. Thank you for watching this week's episode. I've been getting requests to do Antonio Brown for what seems like 2 years now, so hopefully this was as fun for you guys to watch as it was for me to make, and hopefully you guys appreciate our sponsor for this week that made this show possible too, our friends once again over at the BetDSI Sportsbook. If you've always wanted to kind of dip your toe into making money by betting on NFL games, right now all Film Room viewers get a free $25 wager credit that is no cost at all to you with promo code FILM25. Whatever money you win with those free wagers is obviously yours to keep, and you can even just use it as a bankroll to make even more money if you want to. I've had a bunch of my viewers turn that free wager into literally hundreds of dollars, and all they had to do was sign up and play. So if you're looking for a bit of cash on the side, head to betdaside.com, use FILM25 as the promo code, and see what cash you can win. As for me, I'll be back next week with another full Film Room episode. I will not be posting a picks video this week because I'm flying out of town literally hours after this video is released, but I will be posting my picks on Twitter on Sunday, so keep an eye out for those. So until next week, later.